Today we got a story time of a kid who claims that he saw an Enderman in real life. Leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who sent in today's story, we're going to call him Billy. Anyways, right, one day Billy was in class when this kid ran up to him. We're going to call this kid Brian, and Brian is the Minecraft kid in this story. Brian runs up to him as they're ending class. Brian is completely late that day. The teacher looks at Brian and he's like, "Brian, where were you today?" And Brian's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Davenport. That's just a name we'll say. "I'm sorry, Mr. Davenport. Like, I won't do it again. I won't be late again." And he just goes up to Billy. He's like, Billy, you won't believe what I saw today." And, Billy's just looking at Brian like, "Dude, calm down. Like, relax. What? Like, what did you see?" And Brian just looks at Billy. He's like, "Billy, you're not going to believe me, man. You're not going to believe me." And Billy's like, "Chill out. Just tell me what you saw and we'll figure this out together." And Brian just looks at Billy and he's like, "I don't know how to say it, man, but and, Billy looks at him. He's like, "Dude, just spit it out. Like, you're good. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to judge you. I just want to hear what you have to say. Like, I know that you're obviously pretty distressed right now, and there's probably a reason why you're late today." And, eventually Brian's like, "Fine, you're going to laugh at me, but just listen to me." He's like, "Billy?" And Billy looks at him. "Yes, Brian." "Billy, I saw an Enderman today." And Billy just kind of gives him this look of like, bro. For a second, Billy was like, all right, this guy's trying to prank me. Like, he's gone a long way to, like, do this prank. Like, he's late for class. He's, like, putting on a really good act. And then Billy's starting to realize that it's actually more likely that he's not trying to prank him and he just saw something that he thought was an Enderman. And, Brian's like, "Dude, you have to believe me on this one." And Billy's like, "Brian, Endermen aren't real. Why would I believe you?" And Brian's like, "Dude, I saw it. Like, why do you think I'm so freaked out? Why do you think I was late today?" And Billy's like, all right, relax. Calm down, chill out, you're good. Like, let's just talk about this rationally. And Brian's like, I don't want to talk about it rationally. You know what? At this point, right, a lot of kids have started to, like, stop because, like, the class was over by the time that Brian came in practically. And kids were leaving the room. However, Brian and Billy were kind of yelling at each other. And so some of the kids were stopping, so they're kind of making a circle around the two. And Brian was like, "You know what? Anyone who doesn't believe me, tomorrow I will take you to the spot where I saw the Enderman and I will prove it to you. I will prove it that he is real." And, Billy's like, all right, like, okay, sure, Brian, that's cool. Yeah, show me this Enderman. Yeah, sure, okay. So Brian then goes on to say, he says, "You know what? Actually, today, after school, if you want to see the Enderman with me, wait, like, don't get picked up by your parents. Tell them you have to wait a little bit longer, and we're going to walk to the park where I saw it, all of us, so that you can bear witness to what I saw. Anyone who doesn't want to come, don't stay after school, but if you do, stay after school. I'll be here to any of you guys who aren't too scared." At this point, right, Billy's like, all right, like, I got nothing better to do. I'm not trying to do my homework. And, like, there are definitely some other kids that were going to show up. So Billy's like, you know what? Whatever. I'll spend an hour out of my afternoon. That's fine. So later at lunch, Billy was eating, and sure enough, Brian comes up to him. And in Billy's mind, he's like, all right, so Brian's definitely like, he's either telling me that he was overreacting, or he's pulling the plug of the prank, which this is obviously a prank. And sure enough, right, Brian comes up to Billy, and, Billy's just looking at him, kind of waiting for whatever response he has, that's coming. And Brian looks at Billy, square in his eyes and says, "I just want to make sure you're mentally prepared for what you're about to see later today." And Billy was a little taken aback because he was sure. He was like 95% confident that Brian was coming to, like, confess to him that he made the whole thing up and that he doesn't actually want, like, people to wait after school. But no, sure enough, Brian was doubling down on his claims that he actually saw an Enderman and that they're real or whatever. And Billy's like, all right, like, okay, man, I'm sure. I won't be too scared. Don't worry about me. I'm not the one you need to worry about here. And Brian's like, all right, good. I just, I couldn't, morally rest if I didn't prepare you for what you're about to see. And Billy just kind of gave him this look of like, all right, dude, sure. Go, like, fine, all right, challenge accepted, man, like, okay, that's fine. And sure enough, right after school, Billy's waiting there with about, like, 4 or 5 other kids that, overheard the situation, overheard Brian say stay after school to see the Enderman, and also we're in the same boat as Billy as not believing Brian at all, but also having nothing better to do. And, eventually, Brian gets there and he's like, all right, so we got, 5 brave people willing to, see what I saw today. He's like, you guys are going to seem so foolish. Like, you guys are going to just, like, forget. He said, you know what? Don't beg for forgiveness right away. Wait until we leave. Wait until we're safely away from the Enderman. We don't want to, like, I don't know, aggravate it or something. So just, beg for forgiveness later, not when we're there. Please. And Billy just looks at him like, dang, this kid's confident. Like, all right, man. I promise I will not beg for forgiveness there. I got you, bro. I got you on that one. And with that being said, they start to walk towards the park. The Enderman Park or whatever, like Brian was trying to say, right? Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Enderman down below. I'm going to heart a bunch of comments to say Enderman. I can't heart all the comments, but I will do my very best to heart as many as I can. And also, if you want to submit stories like this and be featured on the channel, my Instagram is Connor Pugs. It's in the description if you want to see how that's spelled. Also, feel free to follow me there, even if you're not going to submit a story. I like followers. It makes me look cool. Anyways, right, eventually, Billy, Brian, and the 4 other kids, they're walking over to the park. And Brian is like, all right, real quick, Enderman 101, we got to go over the procedure. Billy just gives him a look like, bro, are you serious? And Brian's like, while I don't know this for a fact, I'm going to assume that Endermen function very similarly in real life to as they function in Minecraft. So whatever you do, and he like stops walking to make this point. Like he stops in his tracks to like to make this point as poignant as possible. Whatever you do, Brian continues, do not look the Enderman in the eyes directly. If you do, they're gonna come and destroy us all. Like we don't have a shot against an Enderman. We're not in diamond armor. We're not in nothing, right? And Billy's just like, once again, he's kind of laughing. Is just like, bro, dude, that's fine. I got you. This Enderman we're gonna see, right? All right, I won't look it in the eyes. Now let's see this Enderman. And Brian's like, all right, I feel like I've prepared you guys, properly for this. Just realize that, if we don't make it back, or if only one of us or a few of us makes it back, we need to tell our respective parents that, the ones that did not make it back love them. And Billy was like, dude, come on. Like, first of all, there's no Enderman. Let's keep it a stack. I don't know what you're going to show us, but there's no Enderman. Second of all, bro, stop being over dramatic here. But anyways, right, Billy's like, all right, man. All right, let's see the Enderman. And Brian's like, all right, moment of truth. This is what you guys have been waiting for. Because they eventually, when he says that, they reach, like, the gate of the park. And Brian was like, earlier today, yeah, I was supposed to be in class, but I wasn't really feeling it. So I decided to go walk in the park. I just need to clear my mind. And while I was walking, like, I saw in the corner of my eye this big, long, dark figure that was buzzing, and it looked like an Enderman, man. I could hear it. I could hear it zipping around. I could feel its presence, and I just got out of there as quickly as possible. And I just ran directly back to school. I mean, it was like a 20-minute run, too, and I got to class late, but I know what I saw, and you're going to see it, too. At this point, like, Billy's like, so you didn't even get a good look at it? And Brian turned to him and said, Billy, if I got a good look at it, I wouldn't be standing here right now, because the first rule of Enderman contact is if you stare at it, you're a goner. Did you not hear what I said just a second ago? And Billy's like, all right, Brian, okay, I got you. So eventually they get to the park. Billy, Brian, and the other 4 walk in, and Brian just stops, and he's like visibly very scared. And Billy looks at him, he's like, Brian, what is it now? And Brian's like, I see it. I see it in the corner of my eye. Nobody look. Nobody turn their heads. Don't do it. You'll all perish. And Brian, like, legitimately was very scared at this point. But Billy, you know what? He was like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk. If there's actually an Enderman there, well, that's unlucky for me. But I'm going to make the assumption that there's not. And sure enough, right, Billy turns his head, and what does he see? He sees a tall, lanky, darkish tree. Billy just turns around and he says, Brian, there's no Enderman there. He's like, dude, what did I say about looking? And Billy's like, dude, you can look. He's like, I don't trust you. And Billy is a little, like, hurt by that. He's like, you don't trust me? Like, I literally just looked there. So Billy put both of his arms on Brian, forcefully turned him around, and Brian was like, ah, and then his like scream was cut short as he realized that there was nothing there but a tree. And Brian was like, oh, my fault. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a like in the video, then click on one of the 4 videos you see on screen right now to support the channel. Thank you. Peace.